Hey, Coyote Christina, surfer, author, dream weaver. It is week 2, the first day of week 2 of a 9-week campaign, the 9-week Amazed and Amused campaign. That is the short reference to my book that I'm working to get published right now. The full title is Amazed, Amused, and Often Confused, The Journey to Joy. So on the campaign, I hope you'll join me weekly, maybe even daily on Patreon. I'll be posting information and just we can take one step towards joy every day. That's great. So just wanted to review, since it's the first day of the second week, I'll kind of want to look back what we went over last week, look ahead what we're going to go over this week, and then maybe read a little bit, depending on how much time that takes up. So the campaign provides glimpses into my experience with the world of animal guides. I've been reading and posting excerpts from my second book and sharing how animal guides have helped me become more present in the moment, let go of the grief and stored emotional pain from childhood, and to make room for greater joy despite the pain and loss. So that's mainly what the book's about, and what this campaign is, just sharing little bits of the book and elaborating more on some of the concepts. So last week, we're going to go from Saturday, Friday, kind of in reverse, but Saturday is the I Dissent discussion and action day, and we talked about, or let you know, I went to the No Kings protest, and then we talked about beaver medicine, which is builder, talking about how working together creates unity, brings us together, which I thought was very relevant for the protest in our government and our nation, and just bringing us together. And then also mentioned some free nature events. We were talking about nature and how it's good for being out in nature is really good for our mental health. And I run a couple nature events every month. So if you want to come out to the beach and do a land lessons for surfing or some yoga, all you have to do is register online. It's free. I just need to know who's coming, how many people to be prepared for. So just go to tkcdreams.net. We also talked about self-transformation, and that the greatest gift we have to give is that of our own self-transformation, about being our own guides, our own teachers, that the greatest teacher of all is the one that resides within. There was the Sagittarius full moon, so we howled a little bit, did an intro to chakras, intro to animal guides, talked about some tiger medicine, which is my power totem. And look, see, tigers all the way, baby. We did Totem Tuesday with the Taco Bell Chihuahua. Oh, he's even still here. Little Chihuahua. Here it is. Let's see. And then Movement Monday, we did our yoga pose. So tomorrow we'll be doing the pose for next week. So I hope you've done your arm swings today, maybe the sides to side, the back bend for opening up the chest. If you go to the Monday, the second day of the campaign, it'll show you those. So that kind of is a review of what we've done every week. Sunday is just the overview. It was the introduction to start, and then the overview. Monday is a yoga pose and a breathing exercise for the week, as well as talking about an animal totem. Tuesday is Totem Tuesday, so we have our animal guides. Wednesday, we talk about the chakras. Thursday, we go back to animal guides. Friday, we go back to the chakras. And then on Saturday, we talk about an I Dissent discussion and action item. So this week, we're going to be focusing on the initiation stage. This is about loss and acceptance, and about finding our deepest truth and honoring our feelings. The animals chosen to provide a framework for the initiation stage of our journey are rabbit, deer, frog, and bat. Rabbit represents fear, deer represents gentleness, frog represents cleansing, and bat is rebirth. Initiation is a gateway to another way of life, preferably a more peaceful and joyous way. When initiation is prompted by the longing of the soul to know truth, it leads to freedom and the ability to define and create the life of our dreams. Initiation is the starting point for our magical, mythical journey to joy, and starts when we stop running away from the moments of dishonesty and pain in our lives and begin to sit with ourselves and allow ourselves to feel the pain with as little resistance as possible. So we'll go more into the animal guides and the initiation stage and chakras this week. And I'll be reading little excerpts from Amazed and Amused. And since we're only at 5.5 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and read one last chapter of Humanity about dolphin. Dolphin is, I think, my all-time favorite animal. I actually wrote my senior thesis in college on ancient depictions of the dolphin, from ancient relic to modern-day treasure. And it was about nature, about art and nature and the relationship between man and nature. So definitely a common theme in my life. So this is about dolphin. I was inspired by taking time to read about it in Medicine Cards, which is a book written by Jamie Sams and David Carson, two Native Americans. And I just reflected on it, and I quote some of what they say and then have some more. So here's my dolphin. Chapter 1, Breath of Life. When we start our journey, searching for the sea of destiny with our thoughts raised high and nothing but blue sky, for today at least. When we start our journey with the foundation of humanity, dolphin provides the life mana that inspires us to keep our thoughts raised high, allowing us to ask the questions that lead us to heal, grow, and thrive. What do you live for? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Have you ever lost what you hold most dear? Have you ever lost half your sky? I have. I didn't realize it at the time. I shut out the pain of loss for over 30 years. I was 4.5 years old when it happened. Dad left for work one day and never returned. If he had died, it would have been much more simple. Severe brain damage is definitely a death, a very complicated death. How do you grieve when you're supposed to be happy that Dad's alive? Good question. I'm still working on the answer over 40 years later. I remember crying one time over the first 30 years following Dad's accident. In the last 15 years, there have been times that I cry daily. When we stumble upon childhood trauma, the emotions can be intense. Waves of raw feeling pour through the once impenetrable wall within that had been created to protect us at a time when we were too young to process such intense emotions. We need to learn to construct this wall consciously, learn to approach relationships in a way that creates mutual support, not dependence. It was in my mid-30s during my first year of law school that the 20-foot concrete wall my body had constructed as a child, aka dissociation, began to crack, and waves of painful emotions started flowing through, leaving me confused and depressed a lot of the time. The good news about pain is that it can be a great motivator. It forces us out of our comfort zone to a space where we can learn to manage our lives through healthy choices and not be managed by the reactions and unprocessed trauma. When we get curious about our pain instead of running away from it, we can unlearn the fear and begin to manage our emotions instead of being run around by them. My emotional pain became so great during law school that I was no longer able to avoid it or pretend like everything was fine. My world was crumbling away. I was falling apart. I was forced to ask for help in the process of seeking out tools and resources, counseling, therapy, pets, people, religion, spiritual practice, activities, rest, that could help me understand, process, and learn how to hold and let go of my greatest sorrows began. Feeling the pain was my initiation, the impetus for the inner journey that has led me to the life of my dreams. When our inner journey is prompted by painful feelings that refuse to stay buried in the depths of our being, it is important that we find spaces and safe people to support us. When painful feelings begin to surface, we need to stop running and stop looking for relief in the outer world. Instead, we need to question these feelings, get curious, and search inwardly for answers. It has been almost 20 years since my inner journey started, and Dolphin has been by my side through it all, teaching me to breathe through the pain. Dolphin embodies the breath of life. Breath is our most basic healing power on the journey to heal, grow, and thrive. Breath is accessible to all and is our greatest tool for regulating our nervous system. As a guide for humanity, the dolphin reminds us to laugh and play along the way and provides a powerful reminder of our essential life-giving power, breath. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's a little bit more about my background and the childhood trauma that was buried for so long, and when it wasn't buried anymore, it started me on this very painful at first, but amazing journey. And if you want to learn more about breath, there's a book called Breathe by James Nestor. And you can also type in on YouTube and just find out some amazing information about breath and breathing. So maybe I'll talk about that more tomorrow when we do our breathing exercise for the week. All right, take care. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being here.